Hi, welcome to the Joyful Balance podcast. You're here with your two hosts. I'm Meera, and I've got Denise with me. I'm a nutritionist with a specialist interest in nutrition for mental health. Denise is a cognitive behavioural hypnotherapist working with clients around sleep and habit change. And together we're here to bring you all the information you need about neuroscience, psychology and nutrition. I take care of the neuroscience and nutrition, Denise does the psychology, and we're here to take you on a journey to understanding your mind, your body and your mental health and how all of these different things are interlinked. So we're delighted to have you on the journey with us, and today it's a little bit of a different episode because we're going to be talking about all the things that we've been practicing daily that help make our lives more healthier and even better. And we'll be telling you about our struggles along the way and how we've been working towards our goals and all the more. So I'll start with first. Hi Denise, how are you?
Hi, I am fine. Look, it's been 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a journey and it's been up and down, not gonna lie. Left, right as well sometimes. But I'm fine today. It's a yucky day outside in terms of weather. But, life is good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. So for those who aren't in the UK at this moment in time, it's gone very grey, very wet. So we're finally having winter, so it's not so fun. But in terms of how the last 7 weeks have gone, pretty well, I would say. There's definitely been some challenges on the personal front, which have distracted me a little bit, but I know that I'll get back on track and we'll be great.
Good. So as you were saying in this intro, we've been on our little journey for the past 7 weeks and we've made different promises to ourselves, and if I remember correctly, one of yours was exercise, right? So how did that go? Can you tell us?
Yeah, of course. So it's been a really interesting one, actually. So as I've alluded to on previous episodes, I'm not the biggest fan of exercise. I don't enjoy it. I haven't historically, I should say, enjoyed it. I've tried various things like Zumba classes, done a lot of yoga, tried to go on the treadmill, done outdoors running. I did have personal training for a while, a long time ago when I had a corporate job. And it all sort of fell by the wayside. Now, obviously, the more research and work that I do in this area around nutrition and lifestyle measures for mental health, I've realised you cannot escape the huge amount of benefit that exercise has for your mental health and how it functionally changes your brain for the better.
Absolutely.
So, I realised, okay, I've got to practice what I preach and try this out. So my challenge was I needed to try and get to the gym 3 times a week because I'd also stopped going to my co-working space as much, which was a decent half-hour walk each way. So I rejoined my local gym and it's actually gone pretty well, I would say. I've been able to keep to it for the most part, apart from when I've either been on my period, and for me, apologies if this is TMI, but I don't think we operate on like that in this podcast.
No.
Because I can be quite heavy when I start and it's just not comfortable for me to be in the gym.
Not at all.
So there's been a couple of times where I've only gone twice a week, and admittedly, because I've had a lot of personal stuff going on, I've needed to kind of get sorted. I only went to the gym once last week. So, but I know that that's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay because I know that I'm going to recommit this week to going back. So what I've been doing is I tend to do about half an hour-ish on the cross trainer, which I find really gets my heart rate up, which is great. And I actually just quite enjoy the challenge of pushing myself on it. And then I've downloaded 1 or 2 fitness apps, and then I follow a weighted workout for another 20 minutes.
So you kind of do 50 minutes to an hour every day?
Yeah, well, not every day.
Not every day, no. When you do
So 3 times a week.
3 times a week, okay.
So I'd like to try and up that this week. So what I'm going to do this week is a bit of a challenge just to see how it feels is to go 4 times a week. So do Monday. So my cycle has always been Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And now I just want to see how Monday, Tuesday, break Wednesday, Thursday, Friday works.
Oh,
just to see what it's like, you know.
Okay.
But because I'm so sedentary the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Because I'm working from home.
Yeah.
I need some way, and I just find, for me personally, trying to go out and get a walk midday, I will procrastinate and put it off. I know what I'm like.
Yeah, you'll be like, oh, I'll do it at 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
oh, maybe I'll do it at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, or I'll do it after work, and then, oh no, but I've got to do this and like that, and I just won't do it. So for me, it has to be first thing, otherwise I'm going to faff about for the rest of the day. So I thought, why not just try and see how going 4 times a week feels? Because actually, like, some of the workouts, they're really tough, but I get something out of it in that I'm just trying to lift these weights, or like I'm trying a different type of exercise I've not done before. So and also, you know, maybe there's a social opportunity at the gym to maybe meet more people, or like at least see familiar faces every week, right? And get out of my house because I'm working from home. So I would say that has, considering that I like the thought of doing this challenge before I had decided to do it, would have felt like, oh no, I don't want to do this at all. Like, this sounds shit.
Yeah.
This time has felt so much more achievable and like less painful than I thought it was going to feel, which is actually really great.
Okay, and how, I'm just thinking, would you consider going for those kinds of classes where you like, I don't know, Zumba or, you know, Pilates or whatever,
so
with more
annoyingly,
people in the same room?
Annoyingly, my gym doesn't do Pilates, and I really wish it did. Like, I'd love to do the reform of Pilates.
Yes.
But they don't offer it, which really sucks. And that, like, I would, now that I have learnt finally how to drive, which is a whole, I know, thank God. I've actually driven to Denise's today where we're doing the podcast. And so this was like my first time going on the M1 by myself, but I was fine. Nothing happened, even though my phone decided to like stop working halfway through with all the directions, but I managed. Even though now I can drive to a gym that's further away that will do that kind of class, I've got a 12-month commitment to this one.
Yeah.
So actually I've got the weights that I need. I've got the cross trainer. There are classes, but for some reason this gym does it at really weird times, and they're all very like HIIT driven. It feels like.
Yeah.
I don't love HIIT. HIIT is not my thing at all.
We've covered this, I think, in the first episode of this season.
I hate HIIT. Like, I don't like HIIT at all.
It's not my vibe either.
So I think for me, it's like it's experimenting with the different like app classes. Like that whole following an app thing really works for me, I think, for the most part. And then just challenging myself around like what weight I carry. So is it like, I've tried to go up to, like, it sounds so weedy, but like go up to 4 kilograms. And because there was one night I went out really late the night before, and I thought, no, I've made a commitment to go to the gym. Even if I go for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, at least I've gone. So I did like 10 minutes on the cross trainer, and then I did a 10-minute arm workout, but I used heavier weights. I definitely felt it the next day where I was like, oh, this is painful. So it's just me experimenting with different app classes, trying out, you know, different weights, being comfortable with like just doing my own thing in the gym. And then maybe one day I can think about joining some of the classes, but for now they just don't really appeal at all, so I'm not going to push myself. But the point is, I'm cementing the whole piece around just going and making the effort, and I think I'm doing pretty well.
No, you are. It sounds like you are. And for those of you listening, what Meera is referring to when she says cementing this, you know, approach and habit, it's very much described and detailed in our episode with Slee. If you haven't heard the episode where Slee takes us on this journey about habit change and how to ensure that you're setting yourself up for success, one of those learnings there is about commitment and cementing a new activity and, you know, instilling that within you before you add on to different things.
Absolutely. And like for me, it's also like, what I definitely find beneficial is laying out my clothes, getting my gym bag ready the night before, so I can literally pick it up and go. Like that definitely makes a bit of a difference. For me, it has to be first thing in the morning, otherwise I will procrastinate and put it off, and it doesn't feel great going at lunchtime. For me personally, I can sometimes do it, but yeah, for me it's always best done in the morning.
That's very good. I'm glad you found that one thing that works for you, and you are able to further cement it. And it's been 7 weeks now, so you've done quite well.
Yeah, like I don't think my body hasn't like changed in terms of weight and stuff. So there's also an element of like needing to look at my diet and things like that and make sure they're as as optimum as they could be. But that's to come. So, but in terms of like, this is the best commitment I've been able to make, I think, exercise wise in a really long time. So
Wow.
yeah,
You should really be happy for that.
thank you. Yeah, I think so. Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I'm not hating it as much as I thought I would.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're hating it at all.
I know people keep saying, like, someone else said to me, she goes, it sounds like you're really enjoying it. And I was like, I don't know, like, I am I enjoying it? I know that it does me a lot of good. Even if I don't feel it in the moment, I know overall it's doing me good. It's, we're going to talk about it in a future episode, but it's very important for like your sense of psychological resilience. So, and if I think about in terms of like the number of anxious episodes I've had, it's probably been less.
Yes, because exercise is, it's so important in our everyday lives. And I think we've covered this in one of the previous episodes, so sorry guys if we're repeating ourselves, but remember when we were talking about how important exercise is for us getting older but stronger, and maintaining our health and things like that. We've always been told, ever since we were growing up, oh, you should move your body, but nobody really put an emphasis as to why.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've discussed this in a previous episode, and what we are trying to tell you now is that the reason why it's so important, it's because it helps your mood, it helps your overall sense of well-being, it helps your health,
sleep.
It helps your sleep, it gets you the right amount of happy hormones.
Yeah, it does.
Endorphins
It improves.
and everything.
Yeah, it absolutely improves your brain's chemistry. Your brain is much better able to learn and remember things as a result, because you're producing more of those chemicals to make that happen. So there's so many benefits to exercise, and this is coming from someone who absolutely hates it, or who has hated it, and is now not hating it so much.
Yeah,
and that's really important. So I know I sound happy. I wouldn't say I am really happy about it, but I know it on some subconscious level it has to be doing me some good.
It definitely is. I mean, you don't see Meera right here right now, but she looks very comfortable. So I'm very much thinking of how much the exercise and the posture and everything else has helped you in ways that you haven't discovered yet.
Exactly, totally.
And that's what I was trying to allude to, is that sometimes we see exercise as a good, let's look good kind of exercise. Oh, let's have a certain body or a certain waist circumference, or yes, there are benefits of doing that as well, and you might want it because of, I don't know, you're a bodybuilder or whatever. But what I'm trying to get to across regarding exercise is that it is beneficial just for life.
Yeah.
End of. Forget about the way you look in the mirror. Moving your body is exercise in any shape or form. Walking, dancing, jumping, whatever you fancy, it's just for life. And it's just improving your life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I'm really pleased.
Thank you. So yeah, so I'm trying to think of any other changes that I've kind of made. Like, I think what I also did as well is, like, for me, I know that, for example, chocolate is a very big source of comfort. So even though I do tend to go for very dark chocolate, it still contains fat. It still contains a lot of sugar. And to be clear, fat isn't bad for you, and neither is dark chocolate in very moderate amounts. So I just stopped buying it. And that really worked in terms of like just cutting down how much I was having it. It's much harder now that we're getting closer to Christmas to avoid it. But I haven't bought any advent calendars because I'm like, nope, I'm just got to put it out of my way.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful. So it's just like, I'm trying to think what else I've also done. Like, just changing up sometimes what I put in my smoothies so they're less sweet. So like, for example, I steamed and froze a bunch of cauliflower, and you can add that to smoothies and you don't know it's there, and it creates this a more creamy texture. So I've just done a few, like on the diet side, I've not done anything super radical, but just made a few little changes. And But for me, yeah, by far and large, the focus has been on exercise, and I think that's been a really worthwhile spend of time. And I think it's really important to say, I wanted to only focus on one thing because I think doing so many other things was never going to really be achievable to do at once.
Yeah.
And that's what we've also said to our listeners over and over again. And the proof is in the pudding, in the sense that I've been able to keep up the exercise because I haven't worried as much about everything else. Like, yeah, I've made a few tweaks here and there, but nothing major. And focusing on the exercise has been a really great way of starting to cement that as a routine.
Exactly. And that's the whole secret. If you're after a quick fix, which we are not an advocate of, but let's say you want a quick fix, just choose one thing. We talked about it this whole season over and over again. We talked about it with Slee, we talked about it with Dr. Nisa, we talked about it with everybody we've had it, and Anastasia last week. Just do one thing and stick to it and commit to that one thing.
Yeah.
Start seeing the results and the benefits of that one thing, and then take another decision of changing something else. That whole idea of as of tomorrow I'm gonna be doing 3,000 different things doesn't work, guys. Our brains are not wired like that. We know I know we love multitasking as a word, and we have, as a culture, thought about multitasking as being the thing.
Yeah, we've definitely revered it, absolutely.
It's not the thing. It's probably sometimes doing us a disservice. So think about one thing, do that one, perfect it every day, just a little bit, chip away at it, practice it, and then believe that is gonna have a positive effect on your life, and see what happens in 28 days or so.
Exactly.
Stick to it. Even with the sleep routine, we said that in a couple of weeks ago in our sleep episode. Once you do a little change, just stick with that change. Don't add more changes to it. Just stick to that one to see if it works, and test it for yourself. And don't believe what every other guru out there is going to tell you.
I think that's actually a really good point, because I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, certainly in this season, is you see a lot of TikTok people giving various advice, some of it good, some of it bad, and then some of it kind of in between. And I think it's so easy to get swept up in it, and just take advice from so many different people. And you'd hope that most of them are saying the same right thing, but you will get some who aren't qualified, who haven't done any study, are perhaps either relying on personal experience or on very limited understanding. And that's a dangerous... It's not your fault, because they make the advice so attractive in terms of it being a quick fix, being that it's easy, and etc. etc. But yeah, I think go for quality advice and just do one thing at a time. So and it is a case of experimentation. So this week it's okay, experiment with, can you go one extra time a week, and just see how that feels. Yeah, and so that's what I'm going to experiment with, and just see how it goes. Yeah,
great. Yeah, no, that's very good.
But that's enough about me. How about you? Can you remind us what you were going to sort of promise to yourself over this podcast season?
Well, one of my promises to myself was that I would seek joy much more, and find those moments of joy, and not be so prescriptive to everything and anything that I want to do. And to some extent I have practiced that ever since we started. And one thing, if you follow me on Instagram, you will probably have seen this in one of my stories. November is my birthday month. I'm not born every day of the month. That would not make sense.
I mean, some people feel like they are. There's nothing wrong with having a big birthday.
Exactly, but I decided many years ago that November is my birthday month, because people live in different places. I don't always see all of my friends at once, so I celebrate at different times. Anyway, this particular month, at the beginning of the month, we went on a trip. My partner and I went on a trip, and at this particular place, there were a few, what you call them, aloe vera plants.
Okay.
And you were walking past these aloe veras, but they were on a path in order to go and see a big statue. So everybody, imagine, was going up and down this path, quite narrow, to get to this particular statue, which is like a touristic attraction. Anyway. And here I was walking, and then with my little eye, I spot a snail in one of the aloe vera leaves.
Okay.
Mind you, they were big aloe veras, not tiny ones.
Gotcha.
Right? So I see the snail. I see it. I look at it. But then we were so focused on getting to the statue that I didn't particularly stop at that moment in time. Anyway, we go. We see the statue. Picture, and we go, as I say. And then we come back down the path. Still a lot of people. And I say to my partner, okay, I need to find the snail. I really need to. So I start looking into these aloe vera leaves to find my snail, just to see if he's, gone.
Okay.
And I find him. And then I spend the next 10 minutes, I'm not going to lie, crouching down to this leaf, looking at my little snail, because the reason why I was staring at this little creature is because he was completely black.
Oh.
It was fully black.
Oh, wow.
So that's why, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably have seen the story, because I was completely taken aback.
Do you have a photo of it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay, you're going to have to show. Yeah, you'll have to repost it when we put this episode out.
I will. So this particular little guy, he was fully black. And for me, in my, 30 plus years of life, it was the first time that I've seen one. And I was just like, oh my God, he's fully black. People were coming up and down and thinking, oh, why is this woman
so fascinated,
staring into a field of aloe veras? Anyway, I could not give a monkeys that they were staring, or that they were looking, or that they were curious, or that I was just having a purely joyous moment, looking at this snail, analyzing his little bits.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to call them, antennas, whatever they are.
Yeah.
So I was just bathing in the joy of looking at this creature on this leaf, minding his own business, right? And my other half was taking pictures of me, because it was just so very exciting for him to...
Do you know what's so funny is I was literally just about to ask what your partner was doing.
Yes, she was taking pictures of me.
That's so sweet.
Taking picture of my snail.
Aww.
And so that's what I mean. It was a long way of telling you my joyous story. But that's what I've been focusing on. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say is that I have given this advice many times, and I have followed this advice in the past 7 weeks or so, of just going out to a park or a forest, whichever is closest to you, or even if you just have one tree around you.
Yeah.
And literally go up to the tree trunk, but go close. Either hug your tree, caress the trunk, have a look, but really, really, really look at it. How many, veins or strands, or how does it look? How does it feel? Does it have moss? Does it not? Those kinds of things. The reason for it is basically psychological, because we know spending time in nature is very, very beneficial for our brain health. It's very beneficial to calm our mood, but it also helps us with mindfulness. It brings us in the present moment, and surprise, surprise, to some of us, maybe not to you, but to some of us, like me, brings joy.
Yeah.
The reason being, you see a little ant. The ant is doing its own way, so you see life in a different way, and you're joyous that other little creatures are having their, time in the sun. So I've said that many, many times to a lot of people around me, including an elderly gentleman who happens to be my boss in one of my work streams. And he was like, what do you mean do I have to hug a tree? And I said, look, you don't really have to physically go and hug it if you don't want to, but just go and see it and take that time and experience it and so on. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, he told me, you know what? You told me to hug a tree. I didn't hug it because it still feels weird to me. But I actually am now doing my morning walks by myself in my little park.
Aww.
And I have my little trees that I go up
That's
close
awesome.
to and see them. And that brings me joy, because I see them and they are still, although it's autumn now, they're still in their prime, and I see the moss and I see how nature changes. And that brings me peace and joy.
That's so lovely.
So that also brings me joy.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of other exercise related things. I said I will just walk, and that was in our first episode. We were talking about how much I do enjoy walking and how I don't particularly like the gyms and things like that. That's just personal preference. I continue to not like the gyms. That hasn't changed. Walking has been a weird one for me. I have to be honest. So the experiencing joy piece works and still works to this day.
Yeah.
As in worked and still works. But the exercise piece, I deprioritized it. And that, I say that with a heavy heart, not because it's not a priority, but because life got extremely busy. And I had to decide whether would I see this client or would I go for a walk.
Oh, wow. Okay. So super, super, super busy.
It's been just very busy the last few weeks. And I was very well up until probably week 4 or 5. But then there was just so many things happening. Some of them were physical, like we're going to events and conferences. Obviously, you're on your feet, and it counts like exercise.
And you travelled away for some of your work, didn't you?
Yes, a lot. The last few weeks were crazy, but now in the last couple of weeks, it kind of got downgraded to priorities.
Okay.
So I had to prioritize what am I going to spend that hour on more, and it's not necessarily the right thing always, because sometimes I didn't prioritize correctly. I'm not saying I didn't prioritize my clients, but I didn't prioritize like, let me rephrase this. It's not like I didn't prioritize my clients, but I prioritized my availability to them too much.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of keeping half an hour here or there for me, I was just flat out.
Right, okay.
So that is a learning. And as a therapist, yes, therapists can get burnt out.
Oh, absolutely.
And last night, I think it was about 10 o'clock at night when I closed down the laptop. And I was like, okay, if I see another written on a computer or a screen kind of thing, I think I will just throw it out the window. So I decided to go for a bath, which is my way of signaling to myself that this is self-care moment. And as I was doing that, I took up a Cosmo, and Cosmopolitan magazine, they're full of quizzes.
Yes. Oh, who doesn't love a Cosmo quiz?
Yes, I think Meera for a second thought about a Cosmopolitan drink. So
no, I didn't at all.
You didn't? Oh,
no. I knew you meant the magazine. Okay. I mean, no judgment either way, but yeah.
Anyway, so I was doing this quiz, and the quiz was about burnout, and I was like, ha, I am not burned out. You take them with a pinch of salt. Anyway, there were 3 different answers that you possibly could have gotten. A, you were burnt out, go to your GP or your therapist and sort that one out and don't wait another day. B was, you're not burnt out, but you're nearly there.
But you're heading that way, yeah.
And C was like, okay, life is good.
Yeah.
Carry on what you're doing. I was B, and I was very surprised. Wow. I was super, super surprised. I redid the test thinking that, okay, I think I might have replied wrong. Anyway, I redid it again, and it was again B. So I was like, okay, maybe the universe is trying to give me a lesson here. And so as of last night, which is less than 12 hours ago, I have decided to listen. So I'm taking a little bit more time for myself and my walking that I normally do on a daily basis, and I haven't done in the last few weeks, and prioritizing health a little bit more, because it's so easy to deprioritize it.
Oh, absolutely. So I've had a lot of family stuff going on this week that's needed my attention, so it's so easy to be like, okay, I'll go for convenience foods, or I will, I don't know, like not exercise or not go to the gym because I need to be running around and doing X, Y, Z. I've definitely done that this week and prioritized personal stuff because that's what had to be done. But I think what's important to remember is that there's an element of self-regulation here, in that you and it's an important part of resilience as well, which is a topic we'll come to in the next episode of this podcast. is that it's about having that not presence of mind isn't the right word, but like having that ability to step back, look at behaviors that you're doing and say, okay, this is what I've dropped and this is what I need to pick back up. Because there will be times that life pulls you in different directions and means that you don't have the time to dedicate to doing all of the wellness practices that help you or are good for you. And that's fine. Life happens, right? We've just got to roll with the punches. But as soon as you're able to sit back and think, okay, I need to change things up because I'm not feeling or being as healthy as I know I can, that's a very important part of resilience, I think.
Yes, and we will discuss it in the next episode because we think it needs its own
it definitely
episode.
deserves it. Yeah.
Just to maybe circle a little bit back to my experience. So, because this episode is about daily practices that works for us, and sometimes they are daily practices, like you were just describing about your gym bag and things like that, and my walking and hugging of trees and looking at snails. But sometimes it is more of a general practice. It doesn't have to be every day in order for it to be a habit of yours. It can be just like you associate it with something else, i.e. when I pack my gym bag, I get into the mood of.
Yeah.
Right? So that doesn't have to be necessarily daily practice. It can be multiple times a week. And this daily practice that has helped me with the workload, with life, with, getting into this autumn season where days are shorter.
Not a fan.
Boo. No, none of us like winter. None of the two of us, I mean.
Yeah.
Other people in the universe love winter. We just happen not to be those ones.
We can't be friends with those people. I'm only joking.
Yeah, I know. So what helped me was continuing my journey with manifestation. I told you in the first episode where I was doing this book thing, and it was a practical book called Make It Happen, and we linked it in the description. So go back to that one, you'll find it. It really helped.
Okay.
The reason why it helped is that it became a morning practice, i.e. I wake up, do my morning, skincare routine, and then I make a cup of coffee, and I do probably half an hour to 45 minutes of this book, which is a very practical book.
I was going to say, so can you just tell us like what things it suggests that you do that you would do in that 45 minutes?
So the book itself is a book, so you need to read a chapter, let's say.
Yeah. So
I chose to do it in daily increments, right?
Yeah, sure.
Somebody could read it all in one sitting. It's quite a big book, but maybe, you can do it in one. And I did it like, read my chapter, half an hour, let's say, because they are quite hefty chapters. And also, it's different when you're reading something that you need to absorb versus you're reading somebody else's story.
Okay.
So that's why for me it's different, because I'm like completely focused, completely in it. And then at the end of the chapter, you have between 1 and 6 exercises you need to do.
Okay.
So you pick up your notebook or your journal or your phone, and then you have writing exercises.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the exercises would be something along the lines of note down 3 ways or 3 things you want to feel once you have achieved your goal.
Okay.
So let's assume your goal is going to the gym, right? The exercise would be write three things, feelings, situations, how achieving this goal will make you feel. And you always write in the present tense. So you're not writing I will feel happy.
Yeah.
No, you're like, so I've been to the gym, I'm happy, fulfilled, accomplished, proud. How does this manifest in my body? I get tingly, excited. I feel like I'm lighter.
It's really interesting because Slee talked about that in her episode. So so just to go back, Slee, who is also a cognitive behavioural therapist who helped train Denise, she mentions about how switching your language to be in the present. So rather than, for example, at the gym saying, well, this is going to do X, Y, Z for me, this is going to help me make more neurotransmitters. You say, no, you are building new
Correct.
neurotransmitters.
Correct. That is one of the key language things that manifestation, mindfulness, and hypnosis all have in common. Is always in the present tense.
Okay.
For all of those of you who have already had sessions with me and we did hypnosis, you will remember every time I'm talking about suggestions, all of them are in present tense.
Right.
And when I'm asking you to think about something or to do something in between the sessions, they are always in the present tense. Although they might be in the future, as in I'm working towards my goal.
Yeah.
You're not saying I will work. You're like, I am working. I am physically now building to get there. So in this exercise I was telling you from my Make It Happen book, well, not my book, the book I'm following is written by a lovely lady. I will link it back again.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link in the description so you guys can check it out.
Yeah, it really helped me cement this daily practice. And I just did the exercises, which brought me again in the present tense, thinking about how I will feel when I achieve my stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And that comes back in a very circle way to the laws of the universe. And look, I'm not the most spiritual person in the universe, and I definitely don't believe everything that is out there.
Okay.
But I do find connections, and in this particular journey of mine, the connection was between this manifestation element and the law of vibration, as in, how do you vibrate on a molecular level, an energetic level, when you are happy? Is very, very different than how you vibrate when you're very, very angry or very sad or so on. So, right? And it was about shifting that energy so that I vibrate in those more positive ways.
Okay.
I'm not saying I haven't been angry or I haven't been sad or I haven't been upset in this 7 weeks. All I'm saying is aspirationally, I want to be in those more positive vibrational states.
Okay.
And that kind of started making sense to me. And that is my daily practice. Now, I finished the book because it is a book, but it's not like never ending.
No, but it's amazing that you've been able to dedicate, half an hour to 45 minutes every morning to do it. That's pretty cool. Like, well done.
Thank you. And I'm continuing the learnings of it because it talks about different things in your life and how to manifest the things that you want to happen and how you should believe in yourself, which again complements what I do with my clients because I say to every soul, believe you can and you will, and you can. So you can as long as you believe you can. And that's what I've did most of these 7 weeks, is to practice what I preach. And I was also reminded by different people in my circle to practice what I preach.
Yep.
And sometimes they say the people who can't do teach. Well, the people who do and teach, I think those are more important people. So that's what I've been aspiring to do. And so far, that is my daily practice. That works for me. Meditation in itself doesn't work for me. It's not something that I can do all day, every day. It's not something I can build half an hour for every day. Enough. It's not that type of... I'm not yet there.
Yeah, fine.
What is one thing that doesn't work for you from the daily practices you've tried?
Oh, that is a great question. Procrastination. I'm going to say that. It's a big problem for me. So, for example, like, you can easily put off the gym by procrastinating. Saying, I'll go at lunch. You get to lunch. I'll go before dinner. You get to dinner. But it's the evening. I can't be asked to go.
Yeah.
And then other ways that I procrastinate, I would say, like, I know that it's important for me to have a proper wind down routine at night, which is important for everybody, actually. Yeah. So mine has historically been 9 o'clock. I go upstairs to my bedroom. I turn the lights down low, and I've got a very yellow lamp, so there's less blue light, so it's not keeping my brain awake. Before, when I was really diligent, I would go for have another shower at 9 p.m. and get in my pajamas, and that's another really good way of winding down. And then by 10, all screens would be down, and I would read, and I am asleep in half an hour. Like, I'm
so proud of her sleep routine, guys.
But at the moment, I am procrastinating all along that journey. So at the moment, I'm not doing the showers, I'm not turning off my screens on time, and I'm not often reading. So that's gone a bit out of whack. because sometimes, and I'm trying to think, well, why am I procrastinating? And it's a good question. And I think, you know, in the last week, it's very understandable that I've chosen that path because I wanted a bit of escapism. But I think it's not the problem of, I suppose, discipline in the sense of I'm not a disciplined person, because I really can be. It's just procrastination is so bloody tempting. So I would say that's my biggest roadblock to healthy routines. I would say it hasn't affected the exercise so much, which is fantastic. It has had a bit of a knock-on effect only really in the last week or so, but generally, like, I know that at the very least screens need to go down, and I need to be reading, and literally sometimes I only read a sentence and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm ready for sleep. It really just depends. One thing that I do think that's actually quite helpful and clever is if you have, this is so random, but it feels like the right time to say it, but if you have a smartphone which can charge wirelessly, I highly recommend you get a wireless charger. The reason is
because you have to put it down.
You have to put it down. When you go to sleep at night, if you want your phone charged, it has to be put down. So for ages, I've had a stand which does because I'm an Apple fiend and have the watch, the AirPods and a phone. So I've got a stand that will charge all three. But it's great because at 10 p.m, I just whack my phone on the charger.
Yeah.
It's down. I can't do anything with it. So I've got to pick up the book. Or just go to sleep. And it's such a good way of, like, if you have the phone that is able to do that, it's a very worthwhile investment.
Most of the smartphones today would be wireless charged. I am a Samsung gal. I've been a Samsung gal for a very long time, and I have the same thing. I have a wireless charger, so you physically have to put the phone down onto the thing so that it
it's a deterrent. It's definitely a deterrent.
But the other thing I wanted to say is, have you tried something that didn't work for you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was the question, wasn't it? I tried something that didn't work for me. Not yet. So I think this week, because I am mindful of weight, for me personally, just because I've been on contraception, that's kind of affected my body in that way. I know I'm exercising, but my body hasn't really changed. And then, you also do have to look at your diet. And I've done intermittent fasting before, but I'm gonna look to try it again in the upcoming week. For the reason being that, for me, even though breakfast is like my favourite meal of the day, I hate cooking breakfast in the morning because I like a breakfast that's quick and done. Like, I don't like to mess around, because then I sit down and then I like go on the social channels, look at the news, whatever, whilst I'm eating. And that's like a really sacred part of my day that I actually really enjoy. But the problem is the things that tend to be a bit quicker, other than eggs, are things that tend to be on the sweeter side, like things like smoothies or granola and berries and stuff like that. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, what's the meal that's like often the most sweet that I'll have that can more easily lead to weight gain? Go on.
Can I give you a tip?
Go on.
The night before, you prepare your mixture like you would on a normal omelette.
Yeah.
And instead of frying it, you bake it in the oven, and tomorrow morning when you wake up fresh and early, you have your eggs and omelette and
that's what I
ready.
did. So what I did last week, I think it wasn't last week, it was the week before last, I made like mini frittata muffins. So I basically like sauteed all my veggies, put it into muffin cups with like some feta, and baked it in the oven. And actually it was such a win because my parents really enjoyed them, and it's so hard for them to get to like anything healthy. So that was definitely a win, and I'm gonna do that again. But it's piqued my interest, and I just want to see if I can do it and see what that's like. Because also you have to be careful with things like intermittent fasting, in that they can become very, very strict rules that it can be problematic for some people. I don't think it's going to be a problem for me, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I know that I'm self-aware enough to catch if, God forbid, it was to become a problem. But the benefit that it has is that it is great for regulating your blood sugar levels, which is very important in terms of for like managing your mood and for your long-term health and to avoid things like diabetes. And I think it's also just I'm just intrigued to see how that feels and and see how that goes. So it may be a practice that might not work for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think I would like to just give it a go.
Yeah.
But in terms of like things that I've done that haven't worked, there's not I don't think for me personally, there's not really been anything, because to be fair, the exercise by and large has gone okay. There's obviously like, I don't love not the atmosphere in gyms, that's the wrong word. I had this guy like who was on the stretch mat next to me, and I kid you not, like he was doing all these extreme stretches with a like a barbell, so not the one of the long bars that you then put weights on the side. And honestly, at one point he was on his back with all his arms up in the up, and then his legs spread out in a V.
Okay.
And I was like, this is a bit much. This is just a bit much. And like,
well,
you do, and then you get some, and then there were some guys who were like doing the thing with the ropes, and then he was getting his mate to film it, and I was like, I don't.
Yeah,
like
I
this.
mean, you find all sorts of people in the gyms, just like you find all sorts of people in life.
Absolutely. And to be fair, there have been some people, like sometimes when the mat area is really busy for weight stuff, you can spill into some of the studio rooms, like where they normally have classes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll share that with other people. But when you respect that people are just there doing their own thing and you don't have to worry about them and they're not going to worry about you, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then when you get the people that make you feel self-conscious because either they're just distracting you for whatever reason. But I have to say, like, apart from that, there's not really, I would say, been much that doesn't work, except for the fact that I will just procrastinate.
Well,
how about you? Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to quite a simple question. Sorry.
It's okay. We feel chatty today, so this episode might be a little bit longer than our normal episodes. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. Before I tell you, I mean, I've told you about meditation. That is not really the thing for me. It doesn't really work as I heard other people that works for them. What I wanted to say about procrastination is, normally procrastination comes in the same bag with perfectionism. They hold their hands very, very closely together.
Okay.
And I've experienced some of that as well at the beginning of this journey for 7 weeks. And the other thing that I wanted to say about procrastination is, you need to ask yourself, what are you scared of, fearful of, or what are you trying to avoid?
That's a good point, because I think I sometimes do it out of a fear of failure. Like,
you can do it out of a fear of failure. You can do it out of a fear of success. You can do it out of the unknown. Because if you don't do anything, then you have no answer, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't want to know the answer just yet. It also can be because you are a perfectionist, and unless it's 300% correct, you don't want to do it. And so that's why I'm just saying, if you guys out there struggle with procrastination, just take a pause. Remember the micro pause that we were telling you for a very long time,
that we are obsessed with.
We are obsessed still. Just think about, what are you afraid of, what are you avoiding.
It's really good advice.
And just see what happens. See what happens. And then the other thing, if you manage to do it, if you really can do this, I applaud you. I started, it sucks, but it's working. Just do it imperfectly.
Yeah.
Take imperfect action. Imperfect action is better than no action.
Oh, absolutely. So
the other thing I wanted to say before I forget is, no decision is the worst decision.
Oh, right. Yeah, I agree.
The worst decision you can ever take is take no decision. So either you're doing it or you're not doing it. Don't stay in limbo land.
Yeah.
And the same with procrastination. Either you want to do it or you don't. Just don't stay in limbo land. And decide. Make a decision in your head. Like, today I'm going to do this task. but don't go in limbo saying maybe.
Yeah.
Or as I say to my clients, when somebody starts a sentence with, "Oh, thank you, Denise, I will try," I'm like, okay, nope, let's do it again.
Yeah.
You either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you try, because we've had this conversation before.
We definitely covered this in a previous episode, but it's worthwhile bringing up again. Like I totally get where you're coming from.
So what hasn't worked for me, as I said, meditation hasn't really, it's not something that it attracts me, but it doesn't. I go around circles with it, and it might also be because, my time is quite restricted this couple of weeks. The other thing that I wanted to say that didn't really work for me, and I don't think it will work for me. I really tried going to the gym. I just, the moment I'm thinking, I've bought another membership.
Okay.
And then I cancelled it 2 weeks later. I didn't go for 2 weeks. I wanted to, I was inspired by other people, such as yourself, going and doing. And then I was like, okay, fuck that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just not something that it appeals to me.
I think, like, you just can't, like, you need to move your body. Like, that's a non-negotiable. How you do it depends on what it is that will get you moving.
Yes.
Like, if that makes sense. So, yeah, like, you've kind of got to find the thing that works for you. And at the moment, I know the gym is kind of working for me, so I've just got to stick at it.
Go
keep
for
going.
It.
And just keep challenging myself. But I do totally respect the fact that it's not for everyone. What might be good for you, I don't know if you've ever done it before, but things like ClassPass, where you just do boutique fitness classes.
I was thinking about it. I found a local, because I've been moving a lot this year and stuff, it was quite difficult to make any commitment.
Yeah,
but what I found locally, and I'm thinking maybe I should try it for the next few weeks while I'm still here, is a Cuban dance studio.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
So exactly, I love dancing, and I'm just thinking of doing that for a few short weeks before I move again. So I'm thinking that's gonna be my savior.
And dancing, like, it just gives you such great endorphins because like you're listening to music that you also really like. It's probably going to be quite loud in a good way, the music. Everyone's going to be quite pumped. Like, my friends who are a bit more into fitness, like, I've definitely joked about taking me to a Bhangra fitness class. I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like, you just listen to really great music and you work, like, and you're getting your sweat on. Fantastic. Like, go for it.
That's the one I want to do. And that's another daily practice, which I forgot to mention. And I will mention it here. At the beginning of this season, I was telling you about shifting energy and how just get up, shake your body like nobody's watching, and see how you feel energetically, right? If I sit down, my work is sedentary, so I'm not, jumping when I'm seeing clients. I sit down and I do the same thing for my other activities, so it's pretty much at the desk.
Yeah.
When I do that for too many hours without a break, my knees start to hurt.
Okay.
And the way to give me the sign is not the app thing, or it's not the smartwatch,
like
or anything
to tell you that you need to get up.
Exactly. For me, those doesn't really work because I'm like, yeah. But when the pain comes from my knees because I've been in the same position for a long time, I just get up and dance.
Nice.
Even if I don't have music, I just So for those of you who potentially might see me do that out the window or something like that, that is just me minding my own sweet business.
Yeah.
So just do something. If you feel like your body feels a little bit stuck, just
garden or like do rigorous cleaning, anything that gets you moving.
Anything. Like even dancing without music.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't dance without music personally, but I remember one day, actually, so random, but it was in I think it was in the winter lockdown, which just sucked. And I think I just got so fed up that I just in one evening I just put on this new classic club song that I just rediscovered and just danced for ages in my room. And I was like, I feel so much better. I feel so much better.
Yeah. Last night, before I shut down my computer at that ungodly hour, as I was saying earlier, I decided to take a piece of bread, and in this kitchen, and Meera is here, she can vouch for it, it's not a huge kitchen, I was just dancing without any sort of music, and I was just like, imagining I'm in some sort of a club while I was having a piece of bread, because I was also malnourished because I didn't have time to eat. So I was doing two things at once, and it just was very, very random.
Yeah.
However, I was feeling better afterwards.
Good.
So again, guys, I think the message of today is we've tried things. Some of them worked. Some of them continue to work.
Yeah.
Some of them, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
In your case, Meera. Some of them I know are not necessarily for me yet. Explore. See what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And really pay attention to how you feel, because I think with some of these things, when you start doing them, it's only when you stop when you realize how beneficial they actually are to your well-being. So like, for example, I might not notice that I am less anxious, but other people will. And it's when you drop those practices and then you fall back to old habits, that then that whole thing starts creeping in again. So try as much as you can to pay attention, because it's such an important motivator. Like how you feel is such an important motivator for any kind of beneficial activity, I would say.
Yeah. And hydrate and sleep.
Move your body.
And move your body.
Nourish yourself.
Yes. So basically, you have to think about yourself like a beautiful plant. So you need the sunshine, you need water, you need feeding, and unlike a plant, you need to move, and then you also need to
connect with others, really.
Yes.
I would say.
You need to be with other plants.
Yeah, basically. You need to be in a forest. That's
yes, exactly. So we are like plants in a ways. It's just that we need to move our bodies as well.
Exactly.
And on that beautiful note, we are gonna kiss you and leave you. We are gonna leave everything in the description box below, so you know which books I am telling you about. In this case, only one book. And we are also gonna link to the first episode of this season, where we made our promises, just so you can, we're keeping ourselves accountable, but you can also do that for us, and you can tell us if we forgot anything. And follow us, like us, give us information about what you're struggling with if you want our answers.
If you can give us a cheeky 5-star review, we won't be upset with you for that.
No, we're not gonna cry.
It's just, it helps other people find the podcast, and that's what we're trying to do, is just spread the word of achievable and enjoyable lifestyle changes that will ultimately make you a happier and healthier person.
Exactly. And if you can, just stop listening to all of those gurus out there and start listening more to your inner voice, your inner truth, and what works for you.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to love you and leave you. So we'll see you soon for the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.